So I want to first begin with telling a story. The first time I experienced a water communion was in Berkeley, California in 2017. I was still new to Unitarian Universalism, and I didn't know much about UU annual traditions and rituals like water communion. I learned about bread communion and flour communion, a whole bunch of different communions. And as a person who was raised Christian, when I first heard the term water communion, I thought it would be something like the Eucharist with bread and wine, except with small cups of water passed around that we would drink together, blessed by our own divine spark of holiness. And as y'all may have guessed, that is not what happened. What happened at this UU Church in Berkeley has happened at many UU in-gathering water communion services. Members brought water carried in from personal containers to pour into a large communal bowl, and each person would tell stories about their summer travels and where the water had come from. I know that's not what this church did last year, but did you all used to bring in water and tell stories? Yes. That was a common practice. So, however, it was, that practice was changed here. I will say that I imagine the ritual might have began something like what it was that I witnessed, where it was connective at first and interesting from the first few speakers. And then attention kind of started to wane, and the ceremony devolved into what a UU historian, not me, I didn't say this, but a UU historian said that then it became, Susan Ritchie is the historian, so blame her, not me. That it became, quote, monologues about expensive travels that only vaguely celebrate the restarting of a church season. Again, that's not my words, but... And again, I don't know how it used to be here in Tallahassee, but I will say that I left my first experience of water communion in Berkeley feeling excluded. I hadn't been able to travel that summer, nor could I afford the kind of places that people were talking about. Granted, some of y'all know that I was just with my beloved wife in Turks and Caicos just recently. I want to name that because in the past, I would be like, man, those elitist people talking about going on these fancy vacations. And, I'm just wanting to honor that here I am. Granted, I still don't have no money, y'all. This just happened that my wife lives there, that I got to go to the, beautiful Turks and Caicos. But anyway, at the time, I couldn't afford to go to these places. And when people were bringing water from all of these fantabulous kind of summer retreats, I felt left out. And I didn't even have any water to contribute to the service because I didn't know about the ritual that was happening. So suffice it to say, it wasn't a pleasant experience for me. But that first experience did make me wonder about the origin of this UU water ritual thing. I wondered why hundreds of congregations across the world would unite in continuing this seemingly elitist tradition. Well, of course, it's because that's not how the tradition started out. As Jennifer shared in the reading earlier, the first Unitarian Universalist gathering of the waters ritual happened in 1980 by a group of feminist women from within our Unitarian Universalist movement. They were advocating for a greater role for women in our worship services and in ministry in general. They were also advocating to eliminate sexist language from our guiding documents of that time period, words such as mankind, instead of more gender-neutral language like we see now. We've come a long way. Still got a long way to go, but we've come a long way. In the midst of those countless meetings and justice-centered conversations, Carolyn McDade, that name may sound familiar. She's the person who had created our song. A lot of people know Spirit of Life. I love that song. I feel like that's the UU kind of national anthem. If y'all don't know it, we're going to sing it, not today, but soon, I'm sure. So anyway, Carolyn McDade and Lucille Shuck Longview put together a worship service for the women who were working in this movement within UU. And their service was called Coming Home Like Rivers to the Sea. The creators of the event asked 8 different women, each coming from distant places, to bring water, and they did, from the Rio Grande and the Assiniboine rivers, rainwater from Maryland, water from the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, and others were poured into an earthenware bowl as each bearer described its significance. I want to read to you how they described that ritual. Quote, "Making our way like rivers from places distant and near, we come together to give shape to a new spirituality. For there is no theology that calls women to strength rather than to support the strength of others, that calls women to action rather than to passivity, that calls women to full expression rather than to meek acceptance. Recognizing that, we see we must question every box, every definition, every assignment from an authority outside our own beings so that we can create and recreate for ourselves the rituals and symbols that give meaning to us. So we come together to question, to hear, to share, to speak, to inspire, and to celebrate through new rituals, knowing that our energy and our love are transforming. Celebrating now our connectedness, we choose water as our symbol of empowerment. As rivers in cycle release their waters and regain new beginnings, so do we cycle. For us as women, these beginnings are powerful but not easy. But still, we come to create and to celebrate and to live by the only spirituality worthy of our devotion, a spirituality that uplifts, empowers, and connects," end quote. Man, if folks were sharing this kind of thing during water ritual, I think I probably would want to keep it going because that was poetic. That was beautiful. Not that y'all don't have those kind of poetic things to share. I'm not saying that. That was Susan Ritchie who said the other thing, not me. I'm just saying. Today, in this worship service, we need not all identify as women to appreciate the significance of the tradition those UU feminists began over 40 years ago. I shared the history of this event to remind us that the ritual we are honoring is rooted in justice, in empowerment, in love for one another. It is rooted in a faith, in a spirituality that liberates from oppression, rooted in this universalist idea that a river of love flows through each of us and in a universe that supports us and sustains us and moves us forward. At the same time, we are contributors to that river of love. We help it grow, become stronger in a continuous cycle of ever-growing love. Every year that we honor this sacred water ritual, we, quote, create and recreate for ourselves the rituals and symbols that give meaning to us. We celebrate new beginnings through these new rituals, knowing that our energy and our love are transforming and still empowered by water. So now, without further ado, I am going to invite you to participate in this year's water communion by first honoring each of your bodies as sacred vessels of water. Some of you may know that the adult human body is composed of about, what percentage of water do y'all think y'all? I hear many numbers that are mostly right in different parts. So our bodies are about 66% water, according to a U.S. Geological Survey. Our bones are 22%, muscles 76%, our lungs are 90%, and our brain is 95% water. So we're mostly water, got a lot of water in us. So it's first good to bless our own sacred vessels of water. Another thing some of you might know that is related to this ritual is that water is influenced by words. According to a 2014 study by a Dr. Masaru Emoto, a Japanese scientist that dedicated his life to studying water, he said that water exposed to positive or negative words would profoundly change the water's color and shape under a microscope. It's a really fascinating study that I'm not going to get more into right now, so I just want y'all to trust that it's true and settle into a space of positivity in your water body. Hold that positivity in your water body now. And I want to ask you to take a deep breath. And as you exhale, smile. If it feels hard to smile, close your eyes and imagine the face of a happy baby. We hear one right now. Imagine that face and smile, or picture that cute furry friend that you have and love. Or you can smile thinking about a beautiful setting in nature and allow your water body to be flooded with a sense of goodness, of joy, of beauty, of strength, of peace. Yes. From this place of feeling flooded with a sense of goodness, joy, strength, peace, empowerment, I'm going to ask for you to consider in your mind your hopes and dreams, prayers for this community. I think there's a slide that has that question on it. What are your hopes and dreams and prayers for this community? And I want you to imagine how you want to see UUCT grow, change, or settle into itself. If some of you don't necessarily feel invested in this community in that way right now, that's okay. On a more personal level, I ask you to consider your own hopes and dreams. Imagine the qualities you would like to see enhanced in yourself. And once you have a sense of that answer that has been flooded with this energy of positivity, I want you to hold that focused energy in your heart and mind and walk up to the center table, choose a stone and place it in the water. And believe that a touch from your water body is contributing to the communal church body, that our blessed waters will nurture and empower your prayers.